Jurassic Park is a classic. Its sequels, not so much. Long version, Jurassic Park was one of the biggest movies of the 90s, and even 3 decades later, it's still a timeless classic. But as expected with any money-making blockbuster, it spawned a multitude of sequels, 5 to be exact, none of which understood what made the original great, let alone lived up to it. In honor of the first film's 30th anniversary, I decided to break down the franchise to see why the original movie was really good and why all the sequels are really bad. Let's start with the only one that matters. The first one needs no introduction. Everyone has seen, or at the very least heard about, Jurassic Park. Based on a novel by Michael Crichton, it was one of the biggest movies of the 90s, and for good reason. Sure, its plot is simple. A group of scientists meet an industrialist who claims to have brought back the dinosaurs. They go to his island and are wowed by the live dinosaurs. The dinosaurs break free and go on a rampage. The people flee. But it's the way it's presented that makes it such an engaging watch. There's a sense of amazement felt when Grant, Sattler, and Malcolm witness their first live dinosaur. They've been extinct for 65 million years, so to see them walking again is breathtaking, both for the characters and the viewing audience. And John Hammond wants to share that wow factor with many more people as he builds a theme park titled Jurassic Park, which is basically a zoo for dinosaurs. After learning about the process in which the dinosaurs are resurrected, the visitors share some of their concerns about the park, which are ultimately confirmed soon after. In an effort to smuggle some dino embryos to Hammond's rival, programmer Dennis Nedry shuts off the park's security system, leaving everyone stranded on Isla Nublar with a bunch of rampaging dinosaurs. And so the route for the rest of the movie is clear. Get everyone off the island safely. The rest of the movie essentially consists of everyone running from the dinosaurs, but it never gets old or repetitive. It manages to keep you on the edge of your seat the whole way through, especially since we care about these characters and want to see them get home safely. All the set pieces and scenarios they go through are engaging and memorable. The T-Rex scene is especially bone-chilling. It almost feels like something you'd see in a horror movie. Not only does this movie offer a fun ride away from dinosaurs, but it also demonstrates an impactful message regarding science. As we all know, dinosaurs and humans come from different eras, and for good reason. Hammond and his crew thought they could play God by bringing back the dinosaurs, but the whole ordeal everyone goes through proves that bringing a long-extinct species to the new era might not be the best idea. Not only is it risky, given how precise the science must be, but humans and dinosaurs just don't belong in the same era, given their stats. Even if you nail it, some bad people, such as Nedry, may try to sabotage your work and put people's lives in danger. It also proves that putting lives on the line just for spectacle is a terrible idea. I can't imagine the disasters that would ensue if the park was actually open. It also helps that the performances are great, the score is stellar, and even the visual effects hold up really well after 3 decades. Anyway, Jurassic Park is a fantastic movie that I highly recommend watching if you haven't seen it already. I sure can't wait for none of the sequels to be any good. Jurassic Park went on to gross over $1 billion worldwide, becoming the highest grossing movie of all time until Titanic came out. The success pressured Crichton into writing a sequel to the original book, titled The Lost World, which Steven Spielberg adapted into a film titled The Lost World, Jurassic Park, just in case you weren't aware. While it was a hit at the box office, it didn't please critics, or even fans. Why is that? Set a few years after the first film, Hammond informs Dr. Malcolm that he had a Site B for his experiments on Nublar's neighbor, Isla Sorna. Okay, if Hammond had a second site, shouldn't we have known about it sooner? It's almost like Crichton and Spielberg didn't think this through. We also learned that Hammond's nephew, Peter Lulo, plans to save InGen by shipping dinosaurs over to San Diego to build an attraction. Did we not just go through a whole movie exploring how this is a terrible idea? I usually really dislike it when stories backtrack on development just as an excuse to push the plot forward. It's among the laziest ways to continue a story, and this movie is no exception. I get that Lulo is more of a jackass than his uncle, but shouldn't he at least be aware of how dangerous dinosaurs are, and especially that they shouldn't be brought to the mainland? Remember what happened to Nedry when he tried to smuggle dinosaurs? He got killed by them. Yeah, that's basically The Lost World in a nutshell. Is the adventure at least fun like the first movie? No. Good God, is The Lost World boring. Like, the first movie was a little slow sometimes, but I spent the whole runtime of this movie fighting off sleep. I did not care about a single character in this movie, not even Ian Malcolm. It's funny because comic relief characters getting promoted to main characters usually makes them annoying as hell, but in Malcolm's case, it made him boring beyond belief. It doesn't help that Jeff Goldblum just doesn't feel like he wants to be here. He had more energy in Boss Baby 2. Boss baby 2. Also, most of the action is forgettable and nothing feels any different at the end. Is there anything I liked about the movie? Well, I really like this one scene where Ian's stuck in a trailer hanging over a cliff. It's intense and keeps you in the edge of your seat, kinda like most of the first movie. I also kinda had fun when the T-Rex went on a rampage through San Diego. It really showed that city a thing-all-3. That's all I have to say about The Lost World. It's terrible and I do not recommend watching it. Good thing they ran out of books to adapt. Are you kidding me? In 2001, Jurassic Park 3 released. It was the first film in the franchise to not be directed by Steven Spielberg, and man does it show. The directing is a massive step down from the first and even the second film, to the point where it feels like a straight-to-DVD sequel. But if I'm gonna be entirely honest with you, Jurassic Park 3 is my favorite of the sequels. Don't get me wrong, it's still bad, but it at least has a few factors that put it above the rest for me. Number 1, it on the original movie the least. What's the story? A kid gets lost in Isla Sorna after going parasailing, so his parents team up with Alan Grant and some millennial to go save him. Yep, that's basically the whole story. No blatantly ignoring the original movie's message, no going, actually, we should protect these clones. Just a rescue mission with some dinosaurs in the way. Number 2, it's the shortest. Every other movie in the franchise lasts for at least 2 hours. 3, however, only goes on for 90 minutes. This means it goes by much quicker than the other sequels, and you also waste less time watching it. And number 3, Alan. Yeah, it's hilariously bad. I don't know what it is about this movie, be it the overdramatic side characters or the terrible CGI, but this movie is super fun to laugh at with a group of friends. Rather than the other sequels which try and fail to recapture the magic of the first movie, it feels like 3 is aware that it's a cheap cash grab and just relies on being as zany as possible. Anyway, Jurassic Park 3 made a lot less money in the box office than the first two and was critically panned across the board. I guess that's it for the Jurassic Park franchise. Oh, come on! 14 years later, in 2015, Universal decided to reboot the franchise with Jurassic World. I sure hope they try to respect the message of the original this time. I could maybe forgive the what if the park actually opened premise if this movie took place in a separate continuity from the original trilogy, but nope, it's the same universe. Everything everyone learned in the first movie is gone once again, as this time the park is actually open. It also opens up a buttload of plot holes, but let's not worry about that. Anyway, after spending over half an hour establishing the new characters and state of the world, none of which I care about, we get to the inciting incident of the story. The park's latest upcoming attraction is a transgenic dinosaur called the Indominus Rex, a T-Rex injected with raptor DNA. Okay, we've already established that bringing back the dinosaurs is a bad idea, so shouldn't mixing DNA and making new breeds of dinosaurs be out of the question? Doing this makes them stronger, smarter, and most importantly, more deadly. The Indominus manages to trick the park staff into thinking it's escaped its enclosure, enabling it to escape and go on a rampage. See? What did I just tell you? The inciting incident of the first movie felt believable. Here, it's the level of stupidity you'd expect from a bad Halloween sequel. If the staff is this dumb, how's the park even up and running to begin with? I have other questions too. Why is the cinematography so bland? Why is the older brother such an asshole? Why are all the characters in general so boring? Why do the brothers ignore the blatant warning about the rides closing and soon after head into a restricted area? Why is Chris Pratt the only actor with any charisma? Cool. What's with the nostalgia bait in the middle? Why is Jimmy Fallon here? If you couldn't tell by now, yeah, I don't like this movie. I thought it was overhyped back in 2015 before I even saw it, and now that I have, I still do. Though, to be fair, there are some things I like about it. I really like how brutal it can get at times, really earning its PG-13 rating. I especially like how unnecessarily over-the-top Katie McGrath's character's death is. She did not need to go out like this, yet I am all for it. Apparently, McGrath herself requested her character's death to be as over-the-top as possible, so good on the crew for following through. Despite the stupidity, the tension is pretty strong, and it might actually be the best in the series in that regard. And I think that's where my praises end. Jurassic World is a dumb, boring, bad rehash of Jurassic Park. Everything it does well was already done much better by the original movie, and it's only mildly enjoyable as a shut your brain off kind of popcorn flick. Reviews were mixed to positive, and more importantly, it made bank in the box office, becoming the highest grossing movie in the franchise. This means they're gonna make yet another sequel, aren't they? Yep. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom released in 2018 and made $1 billion despite poor reviews. Isla Nublar is about to be destroyed in a volcanic eruption. Ian Malcolm believes the dinosaurs should just perish in the explosion to right Hammond's wrongs, while Claire Dearing has established an organization to protect the dinosaurs? Claire, were you not the director of a park that saw dozens of fatalities caused by dinosaurs? Did you not witness a bunch of idiots die because they thought they could control the dinosaurs? Besides, it's not like you're protecting your everyday wildlife. These dinosaurs were cloned from fossils in labs. They're not natural and they don't belong in this time period. Every time I think this franchise can ignore the original movie's message even more, I'm proven wrong. Claire makes a deal with Ben Lockwood and his assistant Eli to bring the dinosaurs to a new island, only for them to be brought to the Lockwood estate, where Eli plans to sell them on the black market, because that's worked so well before. We also learned that Ben's granddaughter is apparently a clone of his deceased daughter, which not only makes zero sense, but is also plain laughable given how poorly developed these new characters are to begin with. Anyway, after fighting off another crossbreed that Eli wanted to sell and opening some cages, Claire comes to a tough decision. Leave the dinosaurs to die in a gas leak or let them roam free out into the open. Regretfully for her, she hesitates to open the final gate, keeping humanity safe from the dinosaurs. Finally, at long last, someone has remembered that humans and dinos don't—
I had to. They're alive. Like me.
Nice going, Maisie. You successfully managed to doom humanity by forcing it to live with a dangerous group of clones just because they just like made for real. I've said this many times already, but remember how the first movie showed us that bring back the dinosaurs is a bad idea? Now we've reached the 5th movie, which tells us to just suck it up and live with these monsters as if they were regular animals. How do you miss the point of your own franchise this badly? This movie was already unbearably stupid for most of the runtime, but they just had to jump the shark for a message so brain dead it would make PETA seem smart. Yeah, I went there. I don't think I've ever seen a movie sequel go directly against the original this hard. Even ignoring that, Fallen Kingdom is a boring and painfully stupid mess that has no value outside of a few decent visuals. It is genuinely one of the worst pieces of I have seen in my life, and it isn't even the lowest point in the franchise. Buckle up. In 2022, Jurassic World Dominion released, and it might just be the most lifeless, empty movie I have ever seen. It didn't offend me quite like the Emoji Movie, Rise of Skywalker, or Chip and Dale, but it left me with such a hollow feeling unlike any other movie I've seen. Seriously, I watched this on a Discord call with a group of friends and I still wanted to off myself the entire time. This is normally where I'd start breaking down the plot and why it doesn't work, but it's so boring, monotonous, and scattershot to the point where I just don't care to do so. It markets itself as a grand, epic conclusion to the franchise where humanity must learn to coexist with dinosaurs, but that isn't what this movie is about at all. Instead, it's about locust swarms and cloning shenanigans, while dinosaurs just happen to show up as an obstacle here and there. At least Fallen Kingdom had a plot about the dinosaurs. In Dominion, the dinosaurs are pretty much only here to draw in audiences and provide an occasional action scene. Speaking of drawing in audiences, Dominion brings back the main characters from the first movie, and it does jack with them. They're only here so the studio can go, remember the characters from the movie you like? They're here again. Give us money. I am grasping at straws here because there is next to nothing to talk about within this quote-unquote movie. Yet it still managed to rake in over $1 billion at the box office. I saw nobody talk about this movie or hype it up or recommend it, and it still made a lot of money. I guess the general audiences are just too brainwashed by nostalgia and big dinos to care about having a good, thought-provoking story. When the movie ended, I felt nothing. I wasn't pissed off at the quality, I wasn't relieved it was over, I just felt empty. Fallen Kingdom may have made me feel angry, but at least it made me feel something. Dominion, on the other hand, made me feel nothing. It is nothing. It is a worthless shell of what the Jurassic Park franchise used to be, and yet another shining example of how far Hollywood has fallen. Well, there you have it, folks. Jurassic Park started out as a simple yet effective cautionary tale on what would happen if one tried to toy with nature and play God. But since it raked in so much cash, they made many sequels to a movie that didn't warrant a continuation just to make fast money. And none of them understood what made the original such a beloved classic in the first place. Moral of the story, if a story is successful, only continue it if you feel like there's anything substantial to add. Making cheap, careless sequels for easy money will just soil the series' reputation. Oh well, even if the sequel sequels all suck, at least we can still appreciate the original without acknowledging the existence of its sequels. I mean, you could probably get a group of friends to laugh at 3, but just don't bother with the others at all. Anyway, this has been Platy, and I can't wait for them to reboot the franchise again in 12 years and somehow make it even worse.